Okay, so I'm going to attempt a sparkly nighttime Christmas tree. So if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll see that my Christmas tree drawing out is very rough. It doesn't matter because the paint does all its thing. This is just really to show you how to do Christmas trees or fir trees. I'm going to pop a little bit of masking fluid on. So I've got some masking fluid here, and I have a colour shaper, which is a silicone tip, and it saves you ruining your brushes. So what I'm going to do is dot on some Christmas tree lights. So just random dots. I'd rather they be different sizes so that I know they're definitely random. I much prefer things to look random than too uniform. So I'm trying to vary where they're being placed as well. Should I have one near the top? So I've got a lot of dots on there. I'll pop a link for the masking fluid and colour shapers. You can get them on Amazon. Okay, I'm just going to dry that off. Okay, so that's nicely dried off. And I'm going to come on with a layer of water. So I'm going everywhere. I'm going to get my night sky in. There's plenty of water on there. I've got around number 10 here. I've loaded it with water and I'm dipping into some neat indigo. Indigo is a perfect colour for a nighttime sky. Just keep loading my brush up. I don't want it to be too thick. Don't mind if it goes over the tree, it's absolutely fine. So I just want a really pretty much nice wash on here. I'm going to take a few extra bits of the indigo in. Get it nice and dark on either side. The darker it is, the more nighttime feel it'll have. So I'm just sweeping an extra little bit in. And my brush a really good rinse. Now I've got something here. I'm going to swap down to round number 6. This is Iridescent medium. It's a Winsor & Newton medium. I'll pop a link for it on the description. It's got a subtle sheen to it. I'm going to dip in. I've dried my brush off because I don't want too much water on there. You can see the subtle sheen. What I'm going to do is just drop a few little bits in, so it can be snow, it can be stars. I just basically want those little bits of sheen within the night sky. Okay, next I'm going to go to a small flat. So this is a 1 centimetre flat, and I've got some lovely bright viridian green. Any sort of phthalo pigment will do with a bit of a brown. So this is with burnt umber. Get this nice and dark, and I'm going to come in. This is with the flat. Just make sure I've got plenty of water. It needs to be thick, but I need it to move as well. I'm going to bring this. I can't actually even see my lines for my tree now. It's flicky motion. Start to bring this through, so I'm getting my nighttime tree appearing. Rinse that one out. I'm going to swap down to around number 6. So if I take some of the indigo now into this mix, so that it's nice and dark, I'm going to bring this through, flick through and make it darker basically. I can see where my tree went to the top. And I'm bringing it out to all of those lights. Make sure that I'm getting all of those. I'm just flicking through. I'm making sure that I'm leaving some of the light as well. I don't want to go over all of that lighter green. I want a combination. So I've got little bits of that lighter green showing. And getting a really nice dark Christmas tree. We need that dark to be able to capture the light later. Flick out towards the bottom. So I've got a really nice dark effective tree there. So I'm just going to rinse my brush. I've got some sepia here. Just going to bring that in at the bottom to create a bit of a tree trunk. Just bring that through. There's a bit of shadow. Okay, so with a clean damp brush, just going to start to just manipulate this sparkle a little bit. So it's not too wet, but I want to send it out a little bit more. It seems to have stayed quite solid. So I'm just dabbing a little bit off my brush. It's the paper's still nice and wet, so I'm getting away with it. If I'd taken a brush on that was absolutely soaking wet, then I'd create a watermark. But because it's just damp and I'm just manipulating this, it's still working. It's just sat quite solid, and it's just showing you how you can change that so that it isn't solid anymore. I'm going to come back into the sepia just at this bottom, just to create a better tree trunk there. Okay, so I'm going to dry that off and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so that's nicely dry now. I'm going to come back in with a little bit more of this iridescent medium. So I'm just dabbling it in to create a bit more sparkle. It's like a frosty sky. I quite like it. The darker that you have the sky, the more the sparkle shows. And when it dries, it's got a really nice subtle sheen to it. So I'm just breaking through. At the minute it looks like it's snowing, which is working really nicely. But I'd rather it just look a bit sparkly. So I'm just showing you how I'm changing that. Just bringing that through. Nice sort of sparkly frostiness. This will work perfectly for a Christmas card. I finished the Christmas card series for this year. This one might be a sneaky one. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just wet around these masking fluid lights. So I'm hoping you can see this. I'm just painting water on just around them. I can see where they are on the paper. I'm just using water, it's just around number 6, clean brush, and painting over them and around them. The bigger ones, in fact, you can do a bit of a bigger paint around. Okay, and then you can start to lift off. So I might have to do these one at a time. Basically, I want to lift a little bit of light. So I'm lifting a little bit of light out, and you can already see they are looking like little lights. So if it doesn't come off the first time, depending on what, this is a cotton paper, so it's a bit harder to shift, it's a bit more hard work. If you've got a wood pulp paper, they'll just lift off really easily. So I've got to work a little bit harder to get that light back, which just means I've just got to agitate the brush a little bit more on the paper. Just keep making sure you're choosing clean tissue just to dab off. You can see those little bits of orbs of light now. That's exactly what we wanted. Okay, so I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry. And I've just got a masking fluid rubber. I'm just going to come over these and take the bits of masking fluid off. So you're going to get this lovely light showing. I'm just going to run my finger over and check that I've got it all. Okay, so now we need to fill in the lights with different colours. So I have got here a little bit of Gamboge yellow. You can't see that here. So we'll start with a yellow. I'm just going to lightly fill these in. Now if you come further with the yellow, you will get a little bit of a glow. So you can put it over the bit that you've lifted, and that will give you a little bit of that sort of glow out onto the tree. I use a couple of colours, so we've got some different colours here. So rinse that off and then come into some clean water. We've got some rose here, permanent rose. So we'll have a go with that one. And again, just take it that little bit further. So you're getting that glow. If it looks too strong, just dab a bit off on some kitchen towel and just lift a little bit off. Can be quite potent rose. could just leave them white as well. Taking that glow a little bit further. It's really nice and effective. And the darker you've got the sky, the more it stands out. So I'm just going to come back into this tree trunk, give it a little bit more oomph. Just shade it at the bottom. So it's just a damp brush softening in. So it's got a little bit more oomph in that tree trunk. And I can bring a little bit more of this dark green through as well. Sometimes with your masking fluid blobs, they can be a bit misshapen, and then this way you can just alter it a little bit, just with a flick of the dark. It works quite nicely. You've just got that lovely sparkly touch in the sky from the iridescent medium as well. So technically I've finished, I've dried it off, it looks really pretty, you can see the glow of the lights, but there's always something that I want to try, and I have got some pearlescent acrylic ink in hot cool yellow, and because I want it to be a bit more random, I'm going to have a little play with this. So this could be a bonus tip and this could be an absolute disaster, but what you have to learn when you're practicing with watercolour is trying these things is important. This is how you find the things you like and the things you don't like. Sometimes it does turn into a disaster, sometimes it's the best thing you've ever done. So I've given it a shake. In fact, I'll give it another shake. They tend to settle a bit, these pearlescent ones, so you've got to give them a really good shake. And I'm going to squeeze a bit up into the pipette, and I'm just going to take it into my palette. So I'm not taking too much on. Because it would be hazardous to take too much on. I've got my round number 6. I've rinsed it, I've dried it off really well. I'm going to dip it into this paint, load it up, then I'm going to come really close, hit my finger and flick. I might end up with some in the sky as well. Might end up with some up the wall, but we're going for it. That already looks more random. So acrylic ink is opaque. You must remember to wash your brushes after. It won't hurt your watercolour brushes. I'm going to stick a bit up here. That's it. Give your brushes a good rinse. Clean it off your palette as well. So before I spritz with the water spritz, I've just got a chance to dab a few little bits off the sky so they don't spread so much. But I've got a water spritzer here, and I'm going to have a go at finally spritzing it and see what happens. So I'm going to keep it low. We're just going to see if it spreads. In theory it should. Yeah, wonderfully. It's looking much more random, much more pleasing to the eye. Don't overload it. A few spritz and it's looking lovely.